So good day everyone. So this is a pre-recorded video for our lesson for this week. So our lesson for this week is about supply chain performance measurement. So for the entire term since week 1, we are talking about the supply chain, why is it important, why is it being done, and what is the purpose of supply chain in businesses. Now we need to determine now how can we say that our supply chain or our logistics is successful, is helping the business? So for this lesson, we will be discussing how are we going to measure the performance of our supply chain. Okay? So all companies need to employ a performance measurement system to organize and manage their supply chain metrics. So kahit na anong organization, be it supply chain management or others, companies or even organizations are employing performance measurement to determine how well did they perform for the period, to determine how much is the income, to determine did the company perform well or the company needs great improvement. So all companies need to employ performance measurement not only in supply chain management but in all sectors of all divisions or departments of the organization. Again, that is to determine whether that department or that team is performing or not. Okay? So supply chain performance measure can be defined as an approach to judge the performance of supply chain system. Supply chain performance measures can broadly be classified into two categories. We have the qualitative measures and the quantitative measures. So example of qualitative measures are customer satisfaction and product quality. So we know that qualitative measures or the qualitative characteristics are those characteristics that are not numerical. They are more of description, they are more of the characteristics, they are more of the features, but they are not quantitative, or maybe, or we say they are not measured based on numbers. Okay? So on the other hand, quantitative measures are order to delivery lead time, supply chain response time, flexibility, resource utilization, and delivery performance. So these are still can be considered as a little more qualitative. However, we are employing now numbers or digits in order for us to determine how high or how low, how great is the performance of that certain organization or that certain department or that certain process of our supply chain by using now numbers, ratios, percentages, and so on and so forth. So that again, even in other forms of studies, like for example, we have quantitative research, we have qualitative research. So those researches are different based on how are we going to approach it. Is it more of characteristics, explanation, definition? So that's qualitative. However, if we are going to determine now based on surveys, like for example, based on numerical surveys, ratios, performance indicators, so that's quantitative. Okay? So here we will be considering the quantitative performance measures only. The performance of a supply chain can be improvised by using a multi-dimensional strategy which addresses how the company needs to provide services to diverse customers' demand. So again, in this presentation or in this video discussion, we are now going to focus on the quantitative measures. Okay? So let's have our quantitative measures. What are those quantitative measures that we are using to measure the efficiency, the effectiveness, the performance, the quality, and so on and so forth of our supply chain? So mostly, the measures taken for measuring the performance may be somewhat similar to each other, but the objective behind each segment is very different from the others. So we will see later on that uh, the variables that we are going to use, or maybe the the items that we are going to employ in our computation or in our data are somewhat similar from one performance indicator to the others. However, it will differ now on what are we going to do with those data. So let's say uh, there are two example. We will be talking example broadly of ratios. So there are two ratios given. So both ratios may use similar items or similar variables. However, these two ratios will have two different purposes. Okay, so that's what we are talking, that somehow the data or the variables that we are going to use are similar from one performance indicator over the other. However, the usage and the objective of such performance indicators will vary from both. Okay? So quantitative measures is the assessments used to measure the performance and compare or track the performance of products. We can further divide the quantitative measures of supply chain performance into two types. They are non-financial measures and financial measures. So as we can said kanina, as we say kanina, performance measures can be quantitative and qualitative. In this video or in this discussion, we focus on the quantitative measures. So we will not be talking about the qualitative measures. But quantitative measures are still broad concept. It's still a broad concept. So we are still going to dissect quantitative measures into two. We have the financial and non-financial measures. So for non-financial measures, the metrics of non-financial measures comprise cycle time, customer service level, inventory levels, resource utilization ability to perform, flexibility, and quality. In this section, we will discuss the first four dimensions of the metrics. So we will now be talking about the cycle time. What is cycle time? Ano ba si cycle time? So cycle time is often called the lead time. So it can be simply defined as the end-to-end delay in a business process. For supply chains, cycle time can be defined as the business processes of supply chain processes, and the order to delivery process. In the cycle time, we should learn about two types of lead times. They are as follows. We have the supply chain lead time and the order to delivery lead time. So there are two important factors. Uh, there are two important factors that we are going to consider with cycle time. So cycle time again is being also called as the lead time. It is somehow parang ano lang siya, parang the whole duration of the process. So there are two factors that we need to focus. We have the supply chain lead time and the order to delivery lead time. So it can be divided into two. We have the planning first, finding of suppliers, the ordering of suppliers, the delivery of the suppliers, the production or manufacturing. And we have the order to delivery lead time. So from the time that the customer orders their products to us, whether it be through mail, through apps, through personal walk-ins, until to the time that we deliver the products or services to the customers. So the order to delivery lead time can be defined as the time of delay in the middle of the placement of order by a customer and the delivery of products to the customer. In case the item is in stock, it will be similar to the distribution lead time and order management time. If the ordered item needs to be produced, it will be the summation of supplier lead time, manufacturing lead time, distribution lead time, and order management lead time. So again, as what I have said kanina, it depends. The order to delivery is from the order of the supplier, order of the customer, nag-order siya sa atin, until to the time that we deliver the products to the customer. So kung may stocks na tayo, available stocks on hand, then it can be na from order niya, deliver na lang natin. So that's the order to delivery lead time, or maybe the distribution lead time, because we are just moving the order. Pero kapag wala pa tayong orders on hand, or maybe our production or manufacturing process is we wait for the order before we manufacture the products, because there are companies that are employing that kind of services. They don't mass manufacture, they don't mass produce. They only produce they only produce a product once there is an order. Diba? For example, meron niyang nagpa-practice sa Japan na car manufacturing plant. And yung usual natin dito is more of the food dito sa South Cotabato. Di ba? Once nag-order ka, saka pa lang siya lulutuin. So that's the order delivery lead time. The supply chain process lead time can be defined as the time taken by the supply chain to transform the raw materials into final products, along with the time required to reach the products to the customer's destination address. Okay, so that's similar. Hence, it comprises supplier lead time, manufacturing lead time, distribution lead time, and the logistics lead time for transport of raw materials from suppliers to plants, and for shipment of semi-finished or finished products in and out of intermediate storage points. Lead time in supply chains is governed by the halts in the interface because of the interfaces between suppliers and manufacturing plants, between plants and warehouses, between distributors and retailers, and many more. Lead time compression is a crucial topic to discuss due to the time-based competition and the collaboration of lead time with inventory levels, costs, and customer service levels. So that's quite either self-explanatory yung first part, and the second and the third paragraph is more of a very deep topic that we need to discuss further with a one discussion. So we'll just move. Okay? So let's move to customer service level. Okay, so in customer service level, the customer service level in a supply chain is marked as an operation of multiple unique performance indices. Here we have three measures to gauge performance. They are as follows, or three or four maybe measures. We have the order fill rate, stock out rate, back order level, and the probability of on-time delivery. So we are going to discuss them one by one. Order fill rate. The order fill rate is the portion of customer demands that can be easily satisfied from the stock available. For this portion of customer demands, there is no need to consider the supplier lead time and the manufacturing lead time. The order fill rate could be with respect to a central warehouse or a field warehouse or stocks at any level in the system. For stock out rate, it is the revenue of order fill rate and marks the portion of orders lost because of a stock out. Back order level, this is yet another measure which is the gauge of the total number of orders waiting to be filled. And probability of on-time delivery, it is the portion of customers' orders that are completed on time within the agreed upon due date. In order to maximize the customer service level, it is important to maximize order fill rate, minimize stock out rate, and minimize back order levels. So we will discuss with order fill rate first, no? Order fill rate again is yung portion of customer demands that can be easily satisfied from the stocks available. So simply, ganito lang. Nag-order si customer or pumunta si customer, gusto niyang bumili ng products natin, and then meron tayong stocks available. So that's the order fill rate. Meaning, we fill the order. We completed the order. Yung stock out rate naman is the reverse of order fill rate and marks the portion of orders lost because of a stock out. So, pumunta si customer, bumili sana siya, need niya talaga, pero wala tayong stocks. So, tendency na wala ang opportunity. Opportunity cost. Di ba? Nawala si customer because wala tayong stocks. So that's the stock out rate. And the back order level is another measure which is the gauge of total orders waiting to be filled. Okay? So gets nyo? When we say order fill rate, it means yung orders na completed. Yung stock out rate naman are orders not completed because we don't have stocks. Yung back order level is waiting order siya that is waiting for us to comply. So again, the best customer service level, or how can we say that the best levels of how we are going to do this to maximize is we have to maximize order fill rate. We need to maximize it, if possible, 100%. Minimize stock out rate because that's a loss for the company, and minimize back order levels. So we need to focus on how are we going to fill order fill rate. Okay, how are we going to fill the orders? Moving to inventory levels, as the inventory carrying costs increase the total cost significantly, it is essential to carry sufficient inventory to meet the customer demands. In a supply chain, inventories can be further divided into 4 categories. We have raw materials, work in process, finished goods inventory, and spare parts. So every inventory is held for a different reason. It's a must to maintain optimal levels of each type of inventory. Hence, gauging the actual inventory levels will supply a better scenario of system efficiency. So again, we need to have a good level of inventories, not na ubos or not naman na sobrang dami ng inventories. So again, in inventory, we can have it into 4 types. We have the raw materials, which means yung raw materials na kailangan pa talaga nating i-process. Yung raw materials na talagang from the start pa, wala pa na umpisahan, process natin. When we say naman work in progress, work in process, it means andoon siya sa gitna ng work ng processing. So hindi siya raw material, naging raw material siya, pero nalagay na siya sa processing, na umpisahan na ang processing. Pero wala pa lang siya natapos. Okay? When we say finished goods inventory, it means ito na yung mga goods na ready to be sold. Ito na yung mga naging raw materials na siya, naging work in process na siya. So natapos na siya, so naging tawag sa kanya finished goods inventory. And we have the spare parts or yung mga extra parts lang. Okay? We have the resource utilization. In a supply chain network, huge variety of resources is used. These different types of resources available for different applications are mentioned below. We have the manufacturing resources, storage resources, logistics resources, human resources, and financial resources. So in the resource utilization paradigm, the main motto is to utilize all the assets or resources efficiently in order to maximize customer service levels, reduce lead times, and optimize inventory levels. So again, here in the resource utilization, it is always the concept, it is always the economic principle that we need to maximize the available resources because resources are rare, resources are limited. So if we don't maximize, if we don't efficiently use the resources, magiging sayang, magiging opportunity loss, magiging sayang yung opportunity na meron na tayong mga resources pero wala lang natin na maximize. Okay? So now that we have talked about the non-financial measures, we will now go to the financial measures. Okay? So the measures taken for gauging different fixed and operational costs related to a supply chain are considered the financial measures. Finally, the key objective to be achieved is to maximize the revenue by maintaining low supply chain costs. There is a hike in prices because of the inventories, transportation, facilities, operations, technology, materials, and labor. So that's self-explanatory. So generally, the financial performance of a supply chain is assessed by considering the following items. So these are the things that we need to consider to determine the financial performance of the supply chain. We have the cost of raw materials, revenue from goods sold, activity-based costs like the material handling, manufacturing, assembling rates, etc., inventory holding costs, transportation costs, cost of expired perishable goods, penalties for incorrectly filled or late orders delivered to customers, credits for incorrectly filled or late deliveries from suppliers, cost of goods returned by customers, and credits for goods returned by customers, returned to suppliers. So basically, these are just things that we are trying to have, example, yung mga unnecessary causes that will determine that the company or the supply chain is quite falling because we are having too much unnecessary expenses. So what are those unnecessary expenses? We have the penalties, we have the returns, we have the transportation, if too much transportation, inventory holding costs. So we need to properly manage this kind of costs so that we can maximize we can get the optimum level of performance from our supply chain. Okay? So in short, we can say that the financial performance indices can be merged as one by using key modules such as activity-based costing, inventory costing, transportation costing, and intercompany financial transactions. So the reference for this presentation is given below. So that's the end of my presentation. Hopefully you learned something, and if you have questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you.